The people who built your house would never buy it. Not the site manager, not the chippy. The people closest to new builds trust them least, and they're saying it out loud. The industry claims 90% of buyers would recommend their builder. Independently, 95% report defects after moving in. Both figures are real, and the gap between them tells a story the industry has never had to answer for. To understand how 90% of buyers recommend their builder while almost all find flaws, we must look at the industry's own reassurance mechanism. This headline figure comes from the HBF National New Homes Customer Satisfaction Survey 2024, which collected 50,000 responses from 97,000 questionnaires, a 52% response rate. This is not a mandatory government census or a rigorous physical inspection. It is a voluntary framework. The high satisfaction score relies entirely on a single, subjective question sent to buyers just 8 weeks after key handover. Would you recommend your builder to a friend? At this early stage, a first-time buyer is still celebrating a major life milestone. A positive answer is a measure of goodwill and customer service, not proof of flawless construction. While trade folklore claims builders universally refuse to live in their own projects, no official statistic proves a total boycott. The actual tension lies in what happens when the honeymoon phase ends. This is where a second, very different timeline begins. On April 9th, 2025, BBC Morning Live reported that 95% of new build buyers encounter some form of issue after moving in. While the exact sample size for that specific report was not disclosed, the broad phrasing is important. An issue in this context is not a claim of sudden structural failure. Instead, it covers a wide spectrum of defects and snags that only become apparent through daily use. The contrast between high industry recommendations and near universal defect reports is a matter of timing. The Builders Survey captures a brief moment 8 weeks after completion, but living in a house reveals its true standard over years. Problems emerge slowly, scattering across the first 8 years of occupation, well after the initial paperwork is filed. At handover, the buyer is handed the keys to a finished product, but they have no way of knowing what was hidden behind the walls before they arrived. Inside the construction fence, the pressure to deliver on schedule dictates daily decisions. A newly appointed site manager named Ben documented his first week on a 52-home development, reporting that senior managers instructed him to maintain the build schedule even if it meant using cheaper, less exact fixing methods, and accepting wider tolerances for misalignments than official standards recommend. This drive to prioritize speed over precision is echoed across multiple trades. Aaron Spicer, an electrical contractor project manager, stated in a public post that builders' restrictive specifications severely limit trade discretion on site. In parliamentary testimony on housing conditions, Trade Representative Gillian McAllister explained that contractors are routinely handed fixed-price packs. These packages lock in costs and forbid deviations, leaving workers with no room to adjust when they find site-specific risks. For carpenters and other trades, this creates a clear difference between an acceptable finish at handover and work that remains durable over the long term. A carpenter on site often faces a choice: rush the visible trim to hit a handover target, or take the time to ensure the underlying work is solid. While these individual accounts do not represent every building site, they reveal why the people closest to the process often express strong reservations about the quality of the final product. One specific reported case illustrates the hidden nature of these installations. In a public recording, a site manager named Mike H. documented a resident-installed indoor climbing wall secured to a new build masonry facade. This case requires careful technical scrutiny, rather than being treated as a nationwide structural scandal. In standard construction, a cavity wall tie simply connects the inner and outer masonry leaves, helping the building resist lateral wind loads. It is not a specialist heavy-duty fixing designed to anchor the moving weight of a person climbing. To determine if this specific installation was unsafe, an independent engineer would need to review several factors, including the building's height, wind exposure, cavity width, spacing, and anchor embedment. While a single reported case does not establish a nationwide failure rate, it shows a fundamental reality for every buyer. Once the plasterboard is hung and the outer brickwork is finished. The finished surfaces completely conceal the decisions made during construction, long before anyone has a chance to inspect them. Independent inspectors look past polished plaster to identify what lies beneath. New home inspector Chris Greenwood routinely documents missing fixtures, water ingress, and household trash sealed inside cavity walls. Chartered surveyor Sarah Mitchell reports that an average inspected new build contains 20 to 30 issues, with some properties exceeding 100. While these figures represent individual inspections rather than a national average, they highlight a clear distinction for buyers. A high volume of cosmetic snags like chipped paint or uneven baseboards rarely threatens a home. The true risk lies in concealed defects involving moisture, ventilation, insulation, structural movement, or active services. One hidden structural failure carries far more consequence than dozens of surface blemishes. But when these latent structural errors finally surface, who actually carries the cost of fixing them? This insider reluctance is not a conspiracy. It is a rational risk calculation based on the economic forces of modern development. In the UK, home builders construct roughly 200,000 new properties every year. Managing this volume requires balancing high upfront land costs, rising material prices, scarce trade labour, and expensive financing. Speed is the ultimate metric. One Home Builders Federation survey recorded a 79.4% satisfaction rate with timeliness, demonstrating how hard developers push to hit completion deadlines. The reason is simple. Handover is a massive financial release valve. Passing the keys unlocks immediate sales, pays down expensive construction loans, registers revenue, and frees up capital for the next site. The commercial value of completing a build on time is immediate and guaranteed. Meanwhile, the costs of future repairs and homeowner complaints are delayed, uncertain, and distributed. Without anyone actively planning to build poorly, the financial system itself rewards finishing fast over finishing perfectly. When a buyer signs a contract, they see one developer name on the billboard. Behind that brand lies a fractured chain of command. The developer hires a principal contractor who hires trade subcontractors who delegate to specialist firms. If a window leaks, the lines of responsibility immediately blur. Who designed the joint? Who specified the sealant? Who installed it? Who inspected it? And who must repair it? The worker on site often has no authority to alter a flawed specification, even if they notice a problem. While pre-completion checklists exist to catch errors before handover, they cannot guarantee how a building performs years later. There is no single documented case tracing one defect through every tier, but defects specialists warn that this fragmented system makes real accountability almost impossible to pin down. To protect themselves from these failures, buyers rely on a 10-year warranty, but this safety net has strict boundaries. The warranty is a conditional insurance policy with tight limits. During the first 2 years, the builder must fix non-structural defects from leaking pipes to poorly fitted doors. From year 3 to 10, the coverage narrows. It only protects against major structural failures like foundation movement or roof collapse, leaving cosmetic settlement and condensation to the homeowner. This leaves the burden of proof on the buyer, who must document the damage and show it fits the policy wording. For unresolved disputes, the New Homes Ombudsman Service offers a route for formal complaints. This service has handled more than 11,000 inquiries, with about 70% of resolved cases upheld and 98% settled within 3 months. Housing solicitors warn that while the system works, the strict exclusions mean many common defects are excluded from day one. Buyers seeking to avoid hidden structural risks often look toward older properties, where a building's physical history is already on display. Decades of seasonal changes, ground movement, weather exposure, and maintenance leave clear signatures on an existing house. The timber has settled, the brickwork has adapted, and past repairs are visible to any surveyor. A newly completed home, by contrast, has no performance record on the day of purchase. Its structural issues are often latent, meaning the defects exist within the walls or foundations but have not yet revealed themselves. This does not mean older properties are automatically safer. Older homes frequently harbour severe structural faults, and no academic research proves they have fewer defects overall than new builds. The critical distinction is the availability of information. In an older property, the house has already faced its trial by weather and time. In a new build, that trial is about to begin. This is not a story of a single bad builder, nor is it a conspiracy of deliberate wrongdoing. It is the result of a system where different forces pull in opposite directions. The buyer faces a permanent information disadvantage, asked to make the largest purchase of their life when the most critical parts of the home, the structure, the insulation and cavity barriers, are already sealed behind plasterboard. They must commit before the building's long-term performance can ever be tested, while the builder is financially rewarded the moment the keys are handed over. Even the most conscientious contractor operates under these same commercial pressures and regulatory limits. The reported reluctance of industry insiders to buy their own work is not empty cynicism. It is a rational response to knowing how these conflicting priorities play out on the ground. When speed and immediate completion are heavily incentivized, the system naturally prioritizes rapid, affordable delivery over maximum long-term durability. Understanding this reality is not about assuming every new home is defective. It is about recognizing that in a market structured this way, careful scrutiny is the only logical path forward. The true gamble of a new build isn't a single contractor. It's a system that seals defects behind drywall before you ever step inside. If you want to know what the builders know before you sign, that's exactly what this channel does. Watch our next video on what to check first and subscribe.